Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial on lock-on bullets for Gamemaker Studio 1.4 and Gamemaker Studio 2. Today I'll be going over how to create a gun that shoots bullets that moves with the player character. It's going to scan the enemies with a cone of sight and lock on to the nearest enemy, and then the bullets are going to gradually turn into the enemies. The code used here can be applied to any lock-on projectile, not just bullets. So missiles, homing missiles or torpedoes, whatever you can think of, you can use the same code and apply to anything. So just keep it up in mind, use your imagination, but I'll be going over specifically how to make a gun that uses that shoots lock-on. Alright, let's get started. I'm going to assume that you already know, have a basic understanding of GML and GameMaker. So I won't be going over the basics, but we will just be applying the weapon to a player character that you've already created. So I have already a little guy that I can move around and he collides with things. It doesn't have to be nothing fancy, just basic. If you don't have to have this, if you just want to make a gun that kind of floats in the middle of the room and then shoots around for now, that's okay. But I'll show you how to apply it to the character. Alright, let me start up here at the sprites. And so for the first sprite I have just a 32 by 32 player character sprite. I have my origin set at the bottom. That's important when we know where to apply the gun to. So if we want to apply the gun in the middle, we're going to have to come up. The next sprite I have is a 64 by 64 wall sprite. You can make yours any size you want, but go ahead and make one of these and add it in your room. That way that we can apply the code for the bullets to contact the wall. The next sprite is a gun. I just have a basic looking gun here, nothing fancy. You can just have a rectangle for yours. Mine is 65 by 34. The next is the actual bullet. It's 10 by 7. The next thing I have is a target sprite. You can just put some crosshairs or just draw something real quick for your target sprite. Mine is 50 by 50. I also have created a sound for my bullet. You don't have to create this now, but I'll show you how and where to apply that. Let's see. Alright, so I already have my object player created and my object wall created. Nothing special in the wall. Could just be blank. My player, just the movement, and I'll show you where to put the gun in a second. Okay, let's go ahead and start by creating a gun. obj_lock-on-gun. Alright, let me look at my notes here. Okay, so we've created our gun and we want to add the sprite of our gun. And then our player, we're going to do, once our player is created, we're going to do, for Gamemaker Studio 1.4, it's just instance create, but I'm using Gamemaker Studio 2, so we're going to do instance create layer. The layer ID over here is instances, and then object lock-on gun. So I'm going to create a variable for this object, gun equals, and then that code. So we're assigning our gun a variable within our object player. Over here in the step event, I'm just going to do gun x equals x, gun dot y equals y minus 16. So the height of my player sprite is 32. I want it to be in the middle, so I do y minus 16. And this moves our gun their player. That's all. I believe that's all we need to do in the object player. Now we can go over to our lock on gun, and we'll go ahead and start setting up some variables here. Alright, in our create event, we're going to do alarm 0 equals 1. And this is going to check, this alarm is going to check, I'll write the comment later. This alarm is going to check if we're firing and fire a bullet each time the alarm resets. We're going to do another variable, activate equals 0. Yeah. Okay, next we're going to go over to our step event. And we're going to adjust the image angle depending on what direction our mouse is pointing. So image angle equals point direction towards the mouse. Alright, and then for our activate variable, actually we'll go over that in a moment. Let's set up the rest of our gun first. We'll add that variable later. Okay, in our alarm event, we're going to check whether or not the player is holding down the mouse button. If so, then we're going to fire a bullet. Can't type today. Alright, so if you created your gun sprite at the same width and height as mine, we'll use the same code. Let me just go back and show you that real quick. Oh yeah, neat little trick if you don't know in Gamemaker Studio 2 is I press Control-Shift-1 and it bookmarked my spot. So we'll go over here to the sprite. It's width of 65, height of 34, and my origin is 15 by 16. So if we hit Command 1, it takes us back to the bookmark spot. X plus length there X 50. Move this out a little bit. So we haven't created our bullet object yet, but we'll go ahead and name it here. What did I do? X plus length, Y plus. Need a comma right there. Alright, so in Gamemaker Studio 2, this is instance create layer. In Gamemaker 1.4, it's just going to be instance create. So you remove that, and you'll remove that. Next, we're going to player sound. So if you have your sound, go ahead and put it in here. Audio play sound. Your sound, put a 1 and then false so that it only plays one time. After that, we're going to reset our alarm. Alarm 0 equals 5. So, whoa. Alarm 0 equals 5. So 5 steps. Okay, then we're going to add one more event. And then draw event. We're going to draw self. And then we're going to draw sprite extension. We're going to draw our target. Okay, we're going to draw a target at the mouse position. 1 by 1, 0, C white, 1. I'll let you type that out. And that's all for now for our lock-on gun. So let me run our game. Okay, we've created our gun that points at the mouse, and we have a target that follows the mouse position as well. Alright, next we're going to create our object lock-on bullet, and we're going to set up some variables. Okay, this is where all the code is going to be in each bullet. So if you just want to follow along with what I'm doing, that would be fine. A lot of this stuff is self-explanatory. Okay, the image angle and the direction are going to be the same. Speed equal 50. In my room, speed is at 60 frames per second. And if you guys want to change that, I believe it's here. Okay, so you come down to options, main, game frames per second, and you just change that to 60. Alright, before we go any further, let's go ahead and add our sprite so we can see our bullet. Okay. That alarm is going to destroy our bullet so it doesn't keep on going forever. Let's go ahead and set our depth to -20. We're going to create some variables for this object, start X, start Y. Let me see. Actually, let's wait on those two. If you want to just leave them in there, we'll come back to them after we're done with some of this other code. So let me just comment those out for now. And we're going to go over to the step event. Alright. Alright, here's where the fun begins. I'm just go ahead and create a bunch of variables. And let me see, I'm not going to try to take too much time explaining each one of these. But basically what this is going to do is it's going to create a cone in front of the bullet. It's going to be an invisible cone that's going to scan the area within the cone and determine if there are any enemies in that area. Okay, if it finds enemies, it's going to search and find the nearest enemy by checking each of the distances, and when it finds the nearest enemy, it's going to lock on to the nearest enemy. Alright, I'll go on from here and I'll explain a little bit more of the rest of the code once we get there, but this is going to be a good chunk. But let me just copy some of this code over I have, so I don't have to type all this stuff out. Just make this go a little bit faster. You can pause the video and type this stuff out as you see it. Whoa, damn, clumsy fingers. Alright, so those are our variables we set up. Okay, so this is the distance. Distance from the instance that the cone should extend. And these are important so that you can change them later. All right. Let's see. So the distance, how far the range of the bullet can see before it locks onto something. So I put 800 pixels. Beyond 800 pixels, it won't detect anything beyond that. The angle is 70 and it's going to be doubled. So our cone is going to be 140 degrees from the middle of the direction it's facing. So depending on how much of how far do you want your bullet to detect, you can change the angle here. The rest of this stuff is pretty much you don't need to change any of that stuff. So you just want to change the distance and the angle to, if you want to tweak it a little bit, change it up. So the higher this number, the wider that it can detect enemies. If you just want a really narrow range, just decrease the number a lot, and say if you put a 20 here, it would only have a 40 degree angle of viewing distance. Alright, so let's bookmark our place, and before we go any further, we're going to we need to create something that I forgot to make up here in the sprites. So we're going to go to object and create an enemy, object enemy, and we're going to do object enemy par, so that if you have more than one enemy, you can lock on to any enemy. I'm going to assign the enemy as the child of the object enemy par. Let me make a sprite for our enemy. You can just do let me just fill it with some color here. So I have a sprite enemy, which is width of 32 by height of 32. My origin is in the center. I'm going to apply that to my enemy. So I've created an enemy, and we're going to lock on to, we're going to look for that enemy and lock onto them. All right. So we're going to do with object enemy par. And we're going to use a code called point in triangle. Alright, so just type that out like that, because this is going to be our cone. The distance, the cone is going to be calculated here in these variables depending on our distance here and our angle. Remove that semicolon. Then we're going to add a check distance. Okay, so first check if the instance is in the cone, then we're going to find out how close it is. So it's just basically checking the distance against the last one that it checked, and whichever is the closest, it's going to get the ID of it. So the target is going to equal the ID. So now we've checked within the cone, we found out, we've scanned all the enemies within the cone, and we found out which one is the closest. Okay, now we need to adjust the bullet to turn towards that specific target that we've locked onto. So if target does not equal, put a little exclamation point here, does not equal no one. So if we have a target, we're going to run some code here. Okay, so our direction is going to be the point direction towards the target. The absolute value of our angle difference, and this is just going to check that same angle to continue to see if it's within the range. Okay, so basically here we're checking to see if the angle difference is not aligned with the the angle that our bullet is pointing towards. So basically this is just going to adjust our bullet so that its trajectory is going straight towards the target. Alright, if the direction towards the target is greater than our image angle of our bullet, we're going to add 10. Now if it's less, then we're going to subtract 10. So our bullet's heading this way, up straight. If our target's over here to the left, it's going to add. If it's the target to the right, it's going to subtract until it's dead on heading towards our target. And we're going to do that with direction equals image angle. Alright, so that does it for there now. Now we're going to do alarm 0, and we're just going to add destroy. Destroy our instance. We're going to add 2 separate collisions here. Okay, so we're going to do a collision with object enemy par. Okay, when we collide with our enemy, we're going to do instance destroy. And if you set up HP within your enemy, you can do damage. HP, that should be HP. Other HP minus equals 2. And we'll bookmark that. We'll add HP equals 100. So add some HP. That way we take away HP. I'm not gonna go over how to kill these now. But I'm sure you'll find that somewhere else. This is just on the lock-on bullet, so we're just gonna leave it at that. And this is just gonna be for locking on to things. Collision. We're gonna do a collision with a wall. And we're gonna do this. We're gonna destroy, instance destroy the collision on the wall. Okay. Now we need to go in here. Let's set some enemies around, and we'll see how this looks. Let me see that. There. I'll run the game, and let's see if it works. Okay, I see what happened. Go back here to where we've got if check distance is greater than near. That actually needs to be a less than. Alright. If check distance is less than near, so let's see how that works now. Great. So we've got bullets that lock on. Alright, now you see here, see I want to shoot up here to this target, but my bullets keep turning towards the nearest there. If I want to shoot here at this one over here, my bullets are turning that way. So there's another trick I want to show you. That's going to help out this gun a little bit. Alright, so we're going to go to our object lock on gun. We created this activate variable here in the create event. Now I'm going to update that each step. Activate Activate equals point distance. So it's going to be from our X and Y coordinates of our gun to our mouse. That's going to be the activation distance. So once it reaches our mouse, then our bullets are going to activate, and we're going to do that by going to our lock on bullets. In the create event, we already did start X equals X, start Y equals Y. We're going to do activated equals false. Okay, in our step event, we're just going to write up here, do a if statement. If the distance X and Y and our start from XY to a start location is greater than the distance that we activate, so it's checking every step to see if we've reached the activation point. We're going to close that in, and we're going to blanket this whole area with an if statement. So if that is true, then we're going to run the code here. So once you get that done, the bullet should activate only when they reach the target. So that grants you just a little bit more control over these bullets, but they're still locking on. Okay, lastly, we're going to apply some particles just to give it a little bit of effects as the bullets are leaving, as they're contacting their targets. So go over here and create a script and set up a particle system. I'm going to do create the particle system. And then for our particle, we're just going to do one particle. You could add more particles to this system. But we're going to do, just going to copy this over, be our particle from our particle system. You pause the video and copy that down exactly as it is, or just create your own particle if you like. Alright, I'll go ahead and go to the next next part. Over here in our object lock on gun, we're going to go to our alarm 0. So in alarm 0, we're going to do part I believe this part right here, I believe this part is going to be the same as these two lines. So X plus length there X and Y plus length there Y. And then we're going to do global part flash, and we're just going to create one particle. I'm going to copy that code, Control C, and go to our lock on bullet. Now in our collision event for our enemy par, I'm going to paste that code, And then we're going to change this part again, the one we copied from earlier, to X, comma, Y. Like that. Copy that over, and we're going to put it in the wall. And let's run that and see how it looks. We got an error. Part flash not set before reading it. Part flash, global part flash, global part flash. We did not initialize the particle system. I'm going to go to my player, or you can put this, if you don't have a player, you can put it in your gun. We're going to do SCR. We have to initialize the system first. And whenever you end your game, make sure you do a part system destroy. So make sure you destroy the particle system and any particles. That way that you don't, you're not leaking any memory. I won't go over that, but you can look up how to do that. So we've initialized the particle system. Got some nice looking particles. Okay, that concludes this tutorial. If you like this and you thought it was helpful, please leave me a like and a comment down below. Let me know what you would like to see. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe, hit the bell notification. I'll have more awesome tutorials like this coming your way. Thank you for watching.